Good morning. This is the Experimental Cemeteries video part 2. So again, if you can like and subscribe, it will help enormously, and you can always buy me a coffee on buymeacoffee.com. Oh, Experimental Cemeteries part 2, I've already said that. Okay, conclusions from the three experimental cemeteries at Forceville, Louvencourt and Le Tréport. These three cemeteries were completed in early 1920. In early April 1920, the Imperial War Graves Commission representatives of the Anglo-French Committee visited these cemeteries. Now, they could have been amongst the following, and I know one or two who were, like Sir Fabian Ware was there, Sir Thomas Mackenzie, maybe Sir Edgar Bowring, maybe Sir George Purley, yes, Major Ingpen, maybe Lieutenant Colonel Ellison, Major Phillips, not sure, because the names were not listed. But they were met at Amiens by Admiral Sir Edmund Poe, who was on the committee. They proceeded first to Le Tréport, then via other cemeteries in various states of construction, and to Forceville and Louvencourt. Everyone was unanimous with praise for the horticulture in all the cemeteries. The main point of discussion concerned the perimeter walls of the cemeteries. Forceville was appreciated as the walls are very low and very nice, and the graves have plenty of room. Le Tréport was criticised for walls too high, and Louvencourt was criticised because the walls were too heavy, too high, and too expensive. Discussions continued in subsequent meetings on the walls, the worries being to preferably have no wall at the roadside to allow views into the cemetery. But then there were worries about straying animals, notably cattle. The stone walls at Louvencourt were very well constructed using very good stone, but too expensive. Bricks would be cheaper. Railings would offer some transparency, but were not liked and also too expensive. As discussions progressed, the preferred wall height got lower and lower. Then Kenyon suggested that the wall height depended upon each situation, and that English country churchyards were not thrown open to the countryside as a rule. Forceville was light as it is a simple shape and not too big. The perimeter is almost invisible, helping the cemetery blend into the undulating countryside. Still today, the neighbouring land is undeveloped. The perimeter wall is dressed stone, as at Louvencourt, with a hedge on top. No mentions of expense here. If the hedge had been allowed to grow to the height in the architect's drawings, then I'm not sure if the visitors would have appreciated the cemetery as much, as this is a copy of a section through the wall and hedge, and the wall was 2 foot, and the ultimate height would have been 6'6". Now, the projected line of that is shown in this apple green line at this point here, so the hedge line would have obscured much of the countryside. And in the earlier vision of the cemetery, it's not easy to see this nice stone wall. While on the subject of stone walls as used at Louvencourt, there we have modifications made at the Louvencourt Cemetery drawn up in 1958. A Commonwealth War Graves Commission photo from May 1969 shows that the changes had already been made. The first modification consisted of creating a break in the wall at the back of the cemetery, noted as a service entrance, making easier access to the compost corner behind the wall. And on the plan, the compost corner was planned for here. And here, just inside of the burials from 1945. Also, the removal of the old pathways within the cemetery. This is an old Conrath War Graves Commission, thank you very much, photo showing the pathways, and this is a photo from today showing the pathways have gone. And there's also a modification to the entrance. This was the original entrance, where you would step up the road here, up a couple of steps, up a few more steps, along outside the wall, then up 6 or 7 steps to the paving in the cemetery. This was modified to a simple straight access. There are less steps here because this part here is slightly higher than this point there. There's a slight slope. So it's been simplified. Don't ask me why. I quite like the old one. Nice way of entering the site. This one is a bit too direct, but anyway, whatever. So the original entrance was up here in the distance, up another couple of steps, then this way, and up into the cemetery. And this would have been a continued stone pathway. The modified entrance is straight up from the road and then onto the grass. Here's a very rough idea. This is the old one, up the steps into the cemetery, and the new one is straight up with an additional tiny wall here, which is a slight continuation of that bit there. While on the subject of the Louvre-Coeur stone walls, expensive because the material white limestone is expensive. It needs to be cut into different sizes for this type of ashlar stone walling using expensive cutting methods. This smooth stone walling is also difficult to build with flush joints and on-site cutting. It also requires wider, heavier walls, thus the foundations need to be bigger. Repairs are also expensive. So, following the trial details in 3 experimental cemeteries, was the use of this material abandoned? Well, after a quick look at some of Reginald Blomfield's other cemeteries, it would appear that these nice stone walls were not abandoned. A cemetery not far from Louvre-Coeur is Ocean Villas Military Cemetery. The entrance gate wall and entrance seating feature is 60-foot length of 3-foot 6-inch wall. As you see, there's the entrance feature here, and this wall here is all ashlar stone, dressed stone. The remaining perimeter wall is like that of Forceville, with a stone wall and hedge, except that the stone wall is only half the height. You can see here at the back. You've only got about 1 foot of stone wall and the hedge on top. This cemetery was completed on 25th of August 1922, a couple of years after Louvre-Coeur. Another Reginald Blomfield cemetery with a long 2-foot high perimeter stone wall is at Bleuet Farm, Elverdingy in Belgium. So it would appear that these nice stone walls were not abandoned. This cemetery was completed on 22nd of September 1922. Oh, the photo is in the post. A lot of Reginald Blomfield cemeteries have wide stone entrances and or ashlar stone entrance buildings or shelters, like here at Roquenuy-Ecoincourt. You can see the big stone entrance and walls on either side. And here at Brandwijk Military Cemetery near Ypres, again we've got a nice stone entrance building and stone walls around the entrance. This type of stone walling is a good choice, attractive and resistant, but expensive. However, it was not exclusively designed into the cemeteries by Reginald Blomfield. Here at Sayre Road Cemetery number 2, we've got a huge wall at the back and a couple of buildings on either side. They were designed by Lutyens. And here at Caterville Valley, you've got a big entrance building in nice stone by Baker. Many other cemeteries use brick walls or rubble stone walls. So here we've got red brick, which is used quite a lot in the walls and entrance building or shelter building. Here is a rubble stone wall. Here is a rough limestone coral type wall, all used by different architects, Blomfield, Goldsmith and Lutyens. And here we've got more different styles of walls here at Highland Cemetery, Rockland Core. This is actually a flint stone wall using local flints, designed by Blomfield. And over here we've got Belle Position Cemetery with coursed grey rubble stonework. And here at Tournai, there's no wall at all. Another option. Or you could even have hedges with no walls inside or underneath, like Aubigny, designed by Blomfield, and Beaumont-Hamel, British Cemetery, by Colichot. So it looks as if experimentation in use of materials continued. Could be the subject of another video. Meanwhile, Fosseville was liked as its simple shape, blah blah blah, we've already discussed that. And it's hidden behind the French civil cemetery and you can't see it from the road. But it was also used to test some headstones. The cemetery is used to test out the prototype headstone for unknown soldiers. On the left is an unknown soldier with known date of death in honour of a British soldier, name unknown, died 2nd of July 1916, and the standard phrase then was, "The Lord knoweth them that are his." And the one on the right is where they know his regiment. So in honour of a British soldier, name unknown, Royal Irish Rifles, died 3rd of July 1916, and the standard phrase, message beneath, "The Lord knoweth them that are his." But this was not retained, and it was changed and agreed in a Imperial War Graves Commission meeting on the 21st of October 1919, again using Kipling's words, "A soldier of the Great War, the standard cross, and known unto God." You'll see this everywhere. So let's go to Le Tréport. According to the Commonwealth War Graves Commission inspection, the front wall of the cemetery was not liked. At the time they saw the cemetery, it was alongside the French civil cemetery, nothing on the other side, just countryside. And in fact, if you look at this postcard, you can see in the distance Le Tréport, the sea, cliffs, and this is the French civil cemetery, and there's nothing on this side. So the British cemetery started in 1914 was built here, and now the French cemetery comes on this side, and at the back. So today the French have extended their civil cemetery to two sides of their cemetery, and the road which closes it is now very busy. Here we've got the burials here at the back, and if we poke our heads over this wall, you can see there's a whole load of burials on this side too. So we've got burials here, and burials at the back. The road at the front is very close and now very busy, so in defence of the original architects, a wall along the front roadside is quite necessary to prevent any dodgy pavement parking and to prevent any walk dogs dashing onto the cemetery lawns. Now that Le Tréport military cemetery is in the town with French civil burials on three sides and the busy road on the remaining side, it is quite acceptable to have walls on all sides. In fact, the walls partially hide the French tombs on the three sides. As the cemetery is on a steep slope, the interior is quite easily seen from the road. The rear wall of the cemetery conveniently covers the road behind. It provides a central feature which acts as a backdrop to the stone of sacrifice. At each end of the wall is a rectangular shelter, one for the cemetery register on this side. So during the visit by the committee members in April 1920, they looked at some headstone configurations. The main configuration here, there are 3 headstones for 4 bodies. Each burial has a regimental badge and description, but only the flanking stones have a cross. So there's only a cross on either side. So one of the criticisms was that these 2 guys don't have a cross. And of course they wouldn't have seen this situation before, because previously with wooden crosses it was easy and maybe not noticed that 2 or more crosses marked one plot. So this is the zone where there are a lot of these 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and we'll look at this one later, configurations. So this is the same configuration where there are 3 headstones for 4 bodies, and this one was noticed by Ware as you've got 4 different men in the grave. You've got 4 different regiments, but you've got 2 different types of cross. And this perturbed some of the committee. They couldn't find a solution and suggested that the architects look into the issue and come up with a solution, as usual. One set of this configuration has been slightly modified with a recent new replacement headstone. The central headstone has been replaced by a new stone, and the position of the regimental badges has changed to being side by side, because previously there would have been one here and one here. The central headstone has been replaced by a new stone, and the position of the regimental badges changed to be side by side. Now, this would have been the old situation. This is the situation with the replacement stone, but an earlier version from Brown's Copse, the 2 badges are upright side by side. On this one, they're sloping. So we've also got sloping versions of 2 regimental badges on these 2, but the badges don't touch each other. But on this one, they overlap, like the new one in Le Tréport. I don't know who decided that. The more up-to-date, more recent version is to have the badges sloped towards the outside. And here there are 2. Here they've actually got some family inscriptions, some place for that, but there's been no space to put the cross. In this example, there is no place for the cross and no space for the regimental badge. This is a whole row of 72 headstones with 3 names on each stone. There's that Imperial cemetery. However, sometimes a headstone with multiple burials could retain the cross and the regimental badge. So here at Irish House Cemetery, we've got 30 non-commissioned officers and men of the Great War of the Gordon Highlanders who died on 14th December 1914 in one plot. I could expand on variations in the Commonwealth War Graves headstones. That could be part of another presentation. There is already another earlier presentation on headstones. This is the end. So many thanks again to the Commonwealth War Graves Commission allowing me to use some of their archive photos. The end. Thank you for watching.